hook I am using is a Dairiki 700 in size 8, and I slid a 6.3mm black cone head on it. I start by wrapping .015 size lead wire onto the hook shank. I make about 15 wraps, then pinch off the excess and push it up onto the cone head. The thread I am using is Uni-Thread 6/0 in black. Start your thread behind the lead wrap and wrap down the hook shank to about the bend of the hook. Grab a piece of pine squirrel strip in black and measure out the tail length. You want it about half the hook shank length. Then pull the fibers back at the measurement with wet fingers. Now, tie that in on top of the hook shank, ensuring that the thread doesn't mat down any of the fur. Make a few wraps to keep the tail in place. Then pull the rest of the strip backward and make a few wraps in front of it. Now, tie in some small-sized red wire and set it aside on your material clip. Also, tie in some body wrap, and in this case I'm using Sparkle Braid by UTC in fluorescent chartreuse. And bring your thread up to just shy of the cone head. Now make touching wraps up the hook shank with your body wrap to about where your thread is and capture the wrap with your thread. Then trim off the waist. We will now pull the rest of the zonker up and pull back some of the fur, leaving a little fur past the tie-in point. Then tie down the strip and trim off the waist. Leaving a little fur at the tie-in point will make the strip more bushy at that spot. Make a few wraps to secure the waist of the strip. Now we will make spiral wraps up the hook shank with the wire. This will help keep the zonker secure and also add a little color. This can be tricky to do so don't worry if you don't get it perfect the first time. I find that pulling the fur up and stroking the fibers over the wire as I tie down will help keep from trapping the fur with each wrap. Continue making even spiral wraps up the hook shank until you reach the end of the zonker. Then capture the wire with your thread. Now you can simply helicopter off the wire to remove the waist. Make a few wraps to secure the wire and over the lead wire as well. Now let's make a dubbing loop and attach the loop twister and then set aside. Pull out a fair amount of some dark colored shredded tinsel dubbing. Pull apart in your fingers to align the fibers. In this case I am using Starburst dubbing in golden peacock color made by Fly Tires Dungeon. Then put the clump in your dubbing loop and spread out the fibers a bit. I find that these fibers are a bit too long for this pattern, so I trim them on one side. Then pull the fibers out a bit and even them up on the loop. Now twist the loop to create a dubbing hackle. We will now start wrapping the hackle around the head of the fly. I find that wetting my fingers and pulling the hackle back with every single wrap will help align the fibers rearward. Wrap up under the cone head as well to create a thick and flashy head. This thread is strong, but it is fine. So if you pull too hard like I did, it will break off the twister like so. Luckily in this case I was able to save it, so be careful when wrapping your hackle. Capture the end of the hackle with your thread and trim off the waist. However, with the break, trimming the waist wasn't needed in this case. Using a bodkin to pick out the fibers might be needed. But in most cases, using a stiff toothbrush and combing the fibers forward and rearward will be sufficient. Now we will whip finish the fly. Whip finishing under a cone head can be difficult to cement, so I like adding a bit of head cement to the thread and wrapping it under the cone head, then whip finishing again. And now your fly is finished. As you can see, this fluorescent hook wrap glows with UV light. Studies have shown that many fish species see the UV spectrum, and therefore I find this helps attract the fish. Like any type of zonker strip, the pine squirrel tail moves really nicely in the water, and the heavy head of the fly creates a really nice jigging action. But an even and quick strip will also create a nice swimming movement as well. I find that the flashy head really seems to attract the fish. If you have watched my channel, you know that the Slump Buster is one of my favorite flies. And I wanted to create a flashier version, one that would attract more fish in off-color water situations. I have found that this fly works really well for that. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. Leave your questions in the comments section, and don't forget to check the description section for a list of materials I used today. I also have my shirts for sale on Amazon now, so pick one up for an awesome fly fishing shirt, and your purchase will help support this channel. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.